Hey, we're going live. Where's my YouTube channel? Okay, there it is. Hello. Welcome to the live stream for Tuesday. What is today? March 20th? Yes, Tuesday, March 20th. And normally Angie would be here, but she is stuck at the DMV. So we are just going to go ahead and go live anyhow. And then we are going to Angie and I are going to do another live stream on Thursday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, since she couldn't make it today. So welcome everybody who's hopping on. We've got new Chris, Angelique, August, Nicole, Tanitria. August says, this is my first time being here. Very cool. Welcome. Shibe, Mother's Boy, Dominique, It's My Life, Diane, welcome, welcome. So what's going on, everybody? How's your week going? Anything new and exciting? Tanitri is on her lunch break. Heather's at work. Oh my goodness, Violet is from South Africa. First time joining here live. Very cool. Pandar asks, oh, is this a new time? I have the time right? 1:30. So Angie Atkinson and I are starting to do live streams every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we're going to alternate channels. This week would normally be my channel, but she's stuck at the DMV. So it's just going to be me for the next hour. And then we're going to meet up again on Thursday at 1:30 p.m. here again on my channel to make up for it. So Little Miss is from Manchester, England. Oh, how lovely. And Vipin is from India. Oh my goodness, we've got people from all over the world here today. Very cool. Let's see. Nicole says, I'm having a hard time leaving my ex. He's living with me now, but I'm wanting to break up. Part of me does anyways, because I can't stand how he talks to me and how I react. Yeah, it's tough to break up anyhow. And it's even tougher if you're living together. It's defining that. And it's also tough because you have to define that new normal, of what your life is going to be like being single and kind of starting over. And I have found in my own personal experience and from hearing from a lot of other people, it really does help if you can kind of prepare for that new normal and start, I think, creating that new normal. So there's some things that you can do now, kind of starting to circle your wagons, so to speak. So, making sure that you've got a solid support system in place. If you don't, meetup.com, I think, is a fantastic website. There's lots of groups that you can get out there and join. Start getting out there and having fun, meeting new people, trying new things. That way, if and when you do decide to leave, there's not going to be such a void left in your life, because that, I think, is one of the things that most people struggle with, is if we've made this other person such a large part of our life that we've lost friends, we've lost family, we've lost hobbies, we've lost ourselves. Like we may not even really know who we are or what we like anymore. So if you can work on that piece of the puzzle, it can make leaving and staying gone a lot easier. I think a lot of the reason people tend to go back is because that they go from abuse to this void. And they're like, well, I don't know. Both are pretty awful. And then the nostalgia kicks in and they're like, okay, well, maybe things could be worked out. Maybe things weren't that bad. Maybe it was me. Maybe. And then they go back. So if the only two options that you have in your life is abuse and a void, then it kind of puts a person between a rock and a hard place. So it can really help to have something to kind of creating this compelling vision for your future of what's this next chapter going to be like. And the more you get used to, doing fun things, being around supportive people, then I think too, the easier it is to leave behind people that are unsupportive, negative, abusive, what have you. Okay, let's see. It's my life. So actually, real quick, Diane says 67 days, no contact today. Awesome. Diane, congratulations. That's huge. That's huge. Okay, it's my life, says Dana. Is it possible my development was truncated due to the narcissist? When I met him, I had a plan, kind of, and he told me to do it differently, and I trusted him because he'd already been through it. Well, it's definitely possible that a person's development could be kind of delayed in a sense. That sounds so heavy though. If you think about it in terms of maybe your plans were more like derailed. I don't know if that if that helps at all any, but it's sort of like John Lennon once said, life happens while we're making other plans. And it's so easy for us, whether that partner's a narcissist or abusive or not, it's so easy for us to get derailed by other people's opinions. And, it's a really hard lesson to learn, and I think the upside to that is in the future, in this next chapter of your life, kind of realizing, okay, I really need to turn inward and trust my own internal guidance system on what's right for me in my life. And then to really make the concerted effort to just grow stronger dreams. Because then this was a big aha moment for me. I mean, I'm 40 and I feel like I just now have clarity and like the determination, I guess, to do what I want to do with my life. I didn't realize how easily I had been derailed in the past by some awful people and then some well-intended people with just bad advice, So I think learning to just become comfortable in yourself and figuring out, okay, what do you really want? What do you really want to do? And realizing that there's no shortage of people out there that are not going to agree with what you want to do with your life and that are going to tell you, hey, you know what you should do, ... And it can be very easy if we're not comfortable and confident in ourselves or within the path that we're taking to listen to them. So I'm always a big fan of if you want to do something in your life, whatever it is, whether it's writing a book or changing careers or parenting advice or you name it, to ask some people get some mentors, get a handful of mentors, people that are doing what you want to do successfully, and then listen to them. Because had I listened, my own life, had I listened to all the people around me, I would have never started a blog. I would have never started a YouTube channel or a podcast or written books or any of it. And it can be very difficult. And I think you'll find in whatever choice or path that you go on, it's really important to find, like I said, find people that are successful doing what you're doing. And you got to just really tune out the rest because the rest is just noise. There was a guy in a Facebook group that I was a part of when I started kind of getting going, like really getting going with all this. And I was wanting to write books and he kept telling me, oh, it's expensive to do that. And, basically you can't do that. Don't even try because it's just not doable. And I was just so determined. I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to do it perfectly. Like I'm new at this. And so I'm just going to keep moving in that direction and I'll keep learning, and I think it's having that mindset of, because that's another part to this is it's really easy. You start going down that path. And if you have some setbacks or things don't work out the way that you want, it's really easy to think maybe they were right. Maybe I'm just not cut out for this, whatever this might be. But if you develop that mindset of, you know what, I'm going to learn. I'm going to dig my heels in and I'm going to give it a go. And sometimes it can help too, to think, okay, I'm going to commit the next year or 3 years or 5 years to really making a go at whatever it is I'm making a go at. and then I'll reevaluate. So just some food for thought. But I don't know. I'm a big fan of reclaiming your power. And yeah, you might have gotten derailed by some other people. I think many of us have. Like I said, I know I have. Reclaim your power and being like, okay, you know what? I kind of got off on the weeds here a little bit, but I'm going to get back on track now, and I'm going to find some mentors. I'm going to keep moving forward. I can do this. And I think you'll find that any person that's had any type of success, however you might want to define that, whether it's not even success, that's done anything that they want to do, has been knocked off track. And kind of the upside to that is it really does help you clarify, what do you really want and how strong are your dreams? So I think a lot of people kind of sit on the sidelines waiting for all lights to turn green. They're waiting for everybody in their life to support them, or they're waiting for there to be enough time or money, or they're waiting for some sort of this magical timing. And that very rarely, if ever, happens. So you're not alone, I guess is what I'm saying. You're not alone. You start where you start and you just keep moving forward. Okay, let me scroll down here. Steven says, I just learned what a narcissist is on January 20th, 2018. Yeah, it's having the words for this, narcissist, sociopath, even understanding like what manipulation is, flying monkeys, hoovering, love bombing, understanding the different types of abuse, all of that is so often so validating and just brings about so much clarity for a person. Because if they are kind of lost in that fog where they're like, okay, I know what I'm experiencing is problematic, but I don't really know why. And what's my part in things? And do I have a part in things? And how do I get things to stop? And can they change? And what if they do change? And there's just all of these questions that people really struggle with. And that's totally normal. So yes, having those words, I will caution you, and I'm sure you probably already discovered this, is it's so interesting to me that certain terms, especially like narcissist and sociopath, people freak out over. It's the weirdest thing. You could refer to like your spouse or somebody else as an alcoholic, a drug addict, codependent, even bipolar, and nobody bats an eye. You refer to somebody as a narcissist or a sociopath, people freak out. They're like, whoa, 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 whoa. I don't know about all that. I mean, I think, that's going too far. And they like lose their mind. It's the weirdest thing. And so I have found, and I think a lot of other people have too, that other people, when we use terminology like narcissist or sociopath, other people, it's like they don't believe us. They think that we're kind of pathologizing them or using the term in like a derogatory way, or that we're some sort of like bitter or jaded. And so I have found, I talk about even like kind of talking more in terms of like behavior. So instead of saying, okay, well, this person's a narcissist, because then people, like I said, people are going to want to debate that point. You call them anything else, people are like, oh, I understand. You call them a narcissist, people lose their mind. If you talk about their behavior and just be like, okay, they're incredibly narcissistic, or their behavior is incredibly sociopathic, people tend to want to debate that less. And a lot of people, when they are new to this terminology and this understanding of things, it can really bring out rage in a person when you're saying, okay, yeah, my ex was a sociopath. And because people were like, well, like, oh, come on, they really minimize it. And it can just make a person so enraged. And it's like, you want to fight that and you want to drag them into the light, and they just won't hear it. It's so incredibly frustrating. So if you're encountering that, I would encourage you just to talk about their behavior. Incredibly narcissistic, incredibly sociopathic. They exploit other people. They have no empathy. They have no remorse. This is also especially the case if you're dealing with the court system. So to talk about like the specifics of what's going on. So just some pointers. But yeah, it's a game changer when you start stumbling across this terminology, for sure. Okay. Let's see. Let me scroll up here. Good for you, Heather. Says, I'm currently exiting my relationship. I did a lot of organizing and prepping last weekend. It feels good. I'm anxious to get out of this environment, though. It's stressful. Yeah. Good for you. The organizing and the prep work, all of that component of that anticipation and preparation on your end is huge. I think what a lot of people do, and there's no right or wrong way to do this. It's just, you know, sometimes people just got to leave. Like they might think, okay, I've really got to come up with a plan. And then these relationships can be so impulsive and can so quickly turn that a person might think, okay, I need a safety plan. I need to do all these things. But then all of a sudden, boom, stuff goes down. And they're like, okay, I got to get out like now. And, um, that can be very overwhelming. And then they're kind of in a scramble. So yes, setting yourself up to win as much as possible, even if you're in a spot, and I'm not picking on you, Susan, but anybody, if you're in a spot where you're like, okay, I'm thinking I want to leave, it can help to come up with like a bare minimum plan. So having like a go bag, 2 changes of clothes. If you have children, same 2 changes of clothes, diapers, medicine, cash, keep this bag someplace at a friend's house or, someplace that they don't have access to. Get copies of your car keys, copies of important papers, and this can be overwhelming too, to kind of start gathering this stuff up. If you are in a place of overwhelm, setting a timer for 20 minutes and then just going at it hard, just gathering up stuff, even throwing it inside of like a hefty sack and then getting it to a neighbor's house, a friend's house, someplace safe that they're not going to see it. And slowly, and it's amazing what you can get done in 20 minutes. Slowly start preparing yourself to go. And then when you do go, or even now, if your environment's incredibly stressful now, is okay, what can you do for self-care at this point in time? Can you get some time to take a hot bath? There's tons of like meditation, guided imagery kind of stuff on YouTube. 2 of my favorite people, Michael Seeley and Jason Stevenson, if you're interested, if you're into that kind of stuff, taking time to listen to that when you can, even if you take your car and you go sit in a parking lot and you just listen to some stuff that just grounds you and helps to kind of keep you in the moment. If you can afford to go get a massage or go for a walk, there's also yoga videos on YouTube, 10 minutes of yoga, things like that really can go a long way of just doing some self-care starting now. And then ideally continuing that, right, for the rest of your life, because self-care is important. But especially during times where we're feeling overwhelmed and stressed out and things are really chaotic, it's really important to triple up on this stuff. And also, I think to triple up on it after you leave as well, because it can just be an awful lot it's new. It's new and it's still going to be just a different type of stress after you leave. Okay, let's see here. James says, it's been 9 months with no contact with his ex. I just received a letter with no forwarding address. It was pages full of love poems. Hoover. Yeah, that kind of stuff at least you can see it for what it is, and it's that level of intensity that abusive people tend to have, manipulative and abusive people tend to have, that can be so confusing. People can get stuck in these relationships for years or decades because they're seeing that kind of stuff. And they're like, well, this person must be sincere because who would do something like that? and to realize, okay, there's a difference between intensity and sincerity. And with manipulative and abusive people, they can do such a great job at doing intense things like that, sending lots of love poems, showing up with flowers, promising change, promising to go to therapy, crying, begging, pleading, 50 text messages a day, emails upon emails, sending videos of like romantic songs, just all showing up at your work, showing up on your front door late at night, all of that kind of stuff. And if a person's not aware that these relationships run a pretty set course, if I idealize, devalue, discard, and to see, okay, this idealized stage, hoovering tends to lead to that. It's just this over the top, the promises of change, of hope, of telling a person everything they want to hear. But then that's not how change really works, right? That's just telling a person everything they want to hear. So along those lines, one of the questions that we get asked, or that comes up a lot, I should say, in the support group, and another kind of sticking point for a lot of people is, if a narcissist offers to go to therapy, they suggest it. Okay, I'm ready this time. I really want to go to therapy. And, by and large, and I get it, because I probably would have been there too. If a person's offering to go to therapy, it can give that target all of this false hope of, well, they never said that they wanted to go to therapy before. They never thought they had a problem before. Now that I'm wanting to divorce them or leave them, now they want to go to therapy. So, I feel like I need to kind of see how this plays out, because that's really promising, right? Like that they want to go to therapy and maybe they can change. But I think it's important to realize that therapy doesn't change people. It's the person has to want to change. Just like AA doesn't make a person get sober. That person has to want to get sober. AA is just a tool. Therapy is just a tool. But if they're not motivated to actually use that tool, then it's not going to help. And so, a lot of people get caught up in, if a narcissist or a manipulative person offers to go to therapy, they get caught up in, well, they said that they wanted to change. And so maybe they're not a narcissist. And then they're in therapy for who knows how long. And then this manipulative person is saying whatever, they might be charming the therapist, which happens quite often, because, if a therapist is there, they're kind of this neutral third party. They don't know what's going on. All they know is what is brought in front of them in a therapy session. And so if you've got this really manipulative, charming person who's saying all the right things, it's going to take a therapist, a while to kind of catch on, depending on how convincing the manipulator is. It's going to take them a while to see through that. So if they ever do, because sometimes, because therapists are human too. So, but what oftentimes happens is that they can charm the therapist, they can charm their target into giving him another chance. And if you're in that situation, I just really strongly encourage you to get clear with yourself over where are your deal breakers and what kind of changes would you need to see and in what kind of time frame. Because like I said, therapy is a tool, and just like AA is a tool, some people go into AA and it takes them years or decades to get sober. And same thing with an abusive person. If they get into therapy, frankly, odds are they're not going to change. The needle's not going to move very far, just because that's their personality. And those things tend to not really change a whole lot. But even still, all that aside, right? Getting clear on what are your deal breakers, how much time and energy and money are you willing to put into this, and how are you going to measure change? Especially if you're dealing with somebody that's already shown you that they have no moral compass, if they are lying and cheating and stealing and living a double life when you're not looking, I would strongly encourage you to consider that being a deal breaker, because what you know is only the tip of the iceberg. That's how these things go. So these people manipulate on a regular basis. They are so good at what they are doing, and then they get better at hiding what they're up to. So especially nowadays with technology, like it's so easy for people to set up fake email accounts, to have disposable phones, to have multiple phone numbers through Google, to there's apps that hide your contact list or certain phone numbers if you're cheating. It's just really difficult to really truly see what a person's up to. So even if you think, even if they agree to live a life of total transparency, you know, if they've had this whole history of being manipulative, I think it would be a really wise decision to realize, odds are they're just going to get better at manipulating. So protect yourself physically and financially and emotionally, and, just keep yourself safe. Vipin, I'm not sure, I'm probably not saying your name correctly, and I apologize. Says, if I would not have left my narcissistic wife, then I probably would have gone mad. Yes. And that's very, very common because they alter. It's crazy. They call them crazy makers for a reason, and they alter reality. They spin things around. There's no accountability. They blame everybody else. It's like trying to argue with a brick wall, and it's exhausting and it's draining and it's frustrating and it's crazy making. And then, especially if her reality differs so much from yours, it's like it just makes your head spin. You're like, I don't even know what's going on here. Like, why do we have two such like radically different accounts of the same thing? And generally there's a lot of what's called gaslighting involved in situations like that, where you have a person who is intentionally just making things up and denying reality. And, that's psychologically abusive, and it really does mess with a person's head. Okay, let me. Yeah, Stacy says, yes, self-care is so important for us with trauma so we can heal. Yes, absolutely. Um, Cecilia says, so the ex who started this whole process of discovery about manipulative relationships, the one that I went through 4 breakups with, seems to be pursuing me again. Never thought it was possible. I truly thought I'd gone through the final discard. Yeah. And, it's one of those things where they just tend to cycle around and around. And just a big fan of, be aware that you're dealing with a person who really likes to agitate and provoke and upset and use, abuse, exploit other people. I mean, that's kind of that personality type. And if they know that they can get a rise out of you, if they know that they think that they can get you to get sucked back in, I would encourage you just to save your sanity and set all of their emails up to go directly to spam. Block phone numbers, change your number if you need to. I know it's inconvenient and it's not fair, but sometimes it's worth that peace of mind to do something like that. And I know it's easier said than done, but try to not let it upset you. If you can see it for what it is and you're like, okay, yeah, of course this person's back. Like, this is just what they do. And this is ridiculous and it's pathetic and I'm so over it. And I'm so glad that I'm not playing these games anymore with this person. I heard a great quote the other day, probably on Instagram, something like, this was kind of one of those like, ooh, ouch, kind of a quote, but I thought if a person's struggling with cognitive dissonance, like, this quote will cut through it. And the quote was, people who play stupid games win stupid prizes. I love that. And realizing, yeah, this is a stupid game that they play. And if I play it, then I'm going to win a stupid prize, which is going to be having them back in my life. Like, I'm just done. Just done. Dude, go play your games. Somebody else, just drive on, because I don't have time. Like, I've got things to do in this life, Oh, very cool. Diane says AT&T has a free blocking app, so you don't have to change your number. I just got it yesterday. I like that. I'll have to check into that. Speaking of phone stuff, I know that Verizon offers, I think most Verizon places will offer free phones, kind of like with bare minimum functionality, but free phones to people that are leaving an abusive relationship. So just throwing that out there for anybody who might need that. Okay, let me scroll up here. Yeah, people are talking about attorneys and stuff and saying, you know, it's important to get a good attorney, document, be honest, and always tell the truth. Yep. That's pretty much it. Any communication that you have to have with this person, try to get it in text messages or emails or voicemails, something that there's some sort of paper trail for. And just be aware of like whatever you say is also on that paper trail. So I would just keep things really brief. I would, get your attorney involved as soon as possible. It's very common for manipulative people to not want to use an attorney. They might say stuff like, well, can't we just work, figure this out between me and you? And, if we're going to get a divorce, it's just the attorneys that win. Like nobody wins in a divorce. And, oh, come on, I'm good for it. Like I'll pay child support or I'll give you half the house. Come on, I'm good for it. If you're dealing with a manipulative person who has shown you that they can't be trusted, now is not the time to start trusting them. So especially when they have nothing to lose and everything to gain. So it's worth the time and the money to get an attorney who understands divorce, who understands these kinds of things. Just get it all done through the court. Whatever money you think that you might be saving in the short term, you're not. It's going to cost you a lot of money in the long term. Sort of like that saying goes that sometimes free really costs you. And this would be one of those times. Okay. Dandelion Green says, I'm so mystified by the motives of a narcissist to manipulate us to hang on when there are no children or finances involved, when they can just get new supply. Is abuse and deceit that fun for them? Yeah, I think abuse and deceit is that fun for them. This is their way. This is like pretty much one of their main ways of getting their really broken ego fed. So, and it's a quick hit. It's an easy fix for them to feel better about themselves. They just go over to somebody, kind of poke at them, get them to explode. Then it's just this little, I half the time I just view these people as like internet trolls, like they poke and poke and poke, somebody explodes. It's this inside feeling of like, yeah, I got them to react. I feel better about myself. And then they drive on and then they go do something, then they maybe reopen contact with someone that they dated 20 years ago, tell them a bunch of stuff. It's not even that they like that person. It's like they like the attention that they get from other people, whether that's bad attention or good attention or getting a person all riled up. It doesn't matter. It's just, and they have a whole supply of pipeline of supply. So it's not just us, right? There's probably at least, 10 other people that we're not aware of that they're going around to, people that they're flirting with on Facebook or people that they're, flirting with on dating sites or making, snarky comments to on Facebook or on dating sites or whatever. Like it's just such a sad, strange, pathetic existence on their end. It's the life of an internet troll. Like that's all. You just go around being a jerk to people, trying to get them upset just so you can feel better about yourself. Like that's sad, but that's what I just block, delete, drive on, try to not get ruffled by it. If And that's easier said than done, because when they do come out of the blue like that, it knocks a person off balance. I mean, I've had it happen to me, and it's sort of like, it's hard to not be reactive when you really think, I'm never going to hear from this person again. And then all of a sudden they surface with acting like everything's fine, or that saying that they want to be friends, or saying something so outrageous that it's hard to not react to that, because part of you probably wants to set them straight and be like, dude, not only would I not be friends with you, I wouldn't even be friends with anybody like you. Like we are so not cool, and I'm so done. Just go away. Like, just go away. I don't go away mad, go away glad. I don't care. Just go away. Like, I'm done. But that's what they want. Like, they want us to react. And so, going no contact is a response to that. So don't feel like, oh, they're getting off the hook if I don't respond. Like, going no contact, no response is still a response. And it really is the most powerful response that you can give. So, okay, let me scroll down here. Let's see. Latanya says, after 9 months, my narcissistic husband is cyberstalking me and found where I moved to off of a review that I did. I'm so paranoid, looking for a new place. I can't believe they will go to such extremes. Yes. Okay. So this is a good point. And I think it's so a couple things here. If you've got a person that is obsessive like that and they're not letting go, it's hard for normal, decent people to even begin, who have things to do, right? Like, you've got a life, you want to move forward, to even begin to think about that mindset of an obsessive person, and that what they're just, that internet troll, like, that they're there and they're actively looking for you, and that they're doing all of these things. Like, it's just hard for us to understand the depths that they'll go to. But some of the things that you can do, I'd recommend everybody, whether or not you're dealing with being stalked or not. I think it's just a good practice in general. It's good practice too if you have children. Google your name, your first name, last name, your child's first name, last name, see what comes up. Then also Google any common screen names that you have. So if you normally have the same screen name for whether it's a dating site, or if it's, Craigslist, things that you've listed on Craigslist, or Amazon, if your Amazon account is, if your name is, I don't know, like Picasso Blue or something like that, Google that and see what comes up. And then Google your phone number and see what comes up. And so that'll kind of give you a head start as far as, okay, this is the kind of stuff I need to go back through. I need to go delete this, or I need to just start changing names, especially with support group kind of stuff. I would encourage people, create a completely different screen name that you don't normally use. And on top of that, okay, so you're Googling your name, you're Googling screen names that you've used in the past, Google your email address, Google your phone number, Google pictures. If you consistently use the same pictures on Facebook or Instagram or what have you, do a Google image search for those pictures and see what comes up. So I'm a big fan too of, when people go to leave, to at a minimum get a PO box for at least a solid year, and only have that be your address. So that's what I have now. Okay. And because some places they'll give you a hard time about having a PO box, and they're like, well, no, we need your physical address. What you can do in that case is do not ever, if you're trying to just get off the grid, don't give anybody your actual physical address. You can give the address of the post office. So for example, if you want to mail me something, you can. So my address is two things. It's either PO Box 464, Mason, Michigan, 48854, or it's the post office, the 144 West Ash Street, number 464. So there's two different ways that you can write that. And then everything goes to the post office. So that's something to consider as well. August says, my ex hasn't contacted me since the discard, but is always asking my friends about me. What's up with that? Probably just trying to keep tabs on you. So I don't know. That might be, if you have mutual friends, or I would be curious to know what your friends are telling him back. Sometimes like this, in situations like this, depending on, I don't know all the details of your situation, but if you have mutual friends and you're concerned about the information they may be giving them, just realize those people might not be like emotionally safe people. So telling them, opening up and being like, oh, I really miss my ex. I'm having the hardest time, but I found this support group. Those might not be the kind of people that you need to tell all of that to, because people, even if they'll say that they're friends, people love to stir the pot. So it's really important that we just realize that tends to be human nature. And especially if people are hanging out and they're drinking and whatnot, or if they think that, you're being drama or whatever by trying to get away, people are, you just don't know. They're unpredictable. So I would encourage you to be careful about the information that you're sharing, especially if it is a mutual friend type thing. And you also might want to start giving out some misinformation to just kind of see. So, letting them know, hey, letting your friends know, hey, man, I'm doing so great, or I'm thinking about moving, or whatever. I guess that depending on your situation, like if this person's kind of stalking you or giving you the creeps, you might want to start planting seeds that, hey, let's say you live in San Diego. You're like, I've been getting some job offers lately in Seattle, and just start talking about moving, and just to kind of pass around some misinformation so that your ex doesn't know what's going on with you. Diane says, I'm still pretty isolated because I don't know who I can trust. Yeah. And Pandar says, this is why I don't trust anyone. So the thing with trust is that trust is something that's earned over a period of time with appropriate action over that time. And I would say at a minimum, I wouldn't trust anybody who's still friends with an abusive person. They just can't be trusted. They're compromised, because obviously they're buying into, they're only seeing like a certain side of that person. And for that reason, you just have to kind of scale back like what you share with them. And I'm a big fan of always erring on the side of caution with anything in life. So if a person has breached your trust in any way, then that's definitely a time to take a big step back. If they're friends with hurtful people to you, that's time to take a big step back. As you're meeting new people, it's okay. It's normal and it's healthy. Actually, it might not even be normal, but it's healthy. It's healthy to go slow and to take your time with getting to know people. And, like I said, trust is built in a whole series of small ways. You say, we're going to meet for dinner at 6:00, and you're there at 6:00. Brene Brown, in the last book we read for book club, which was, I think it was Daring Greatly, she had the perfect analogy for this. She said, trust is like a marble jar. And that she had, when one of her children was in elementary school, the teacher, had a jar, and every time the class was good, the teacher would drop a marble in the jar. And then once the jar got full, they'd have a pizza party. But if the class was acting up, the teacher would take a marble out of the jar. And trust is very much the same way. So you drop in those little marbles of trust one at a time once they're earned. And then if they're not being earned, you start taking those marbles out one at a time. But if it's some sort of like egregious act that falls within your deal breakers, then sometimes you just need to dump out the whole jar and be done. So getting clear on kind of what's your deal maker behavior and what are your deal breakers. So, let's see. Jennifer is talking about, can active codependence be helped in therapy? Everyone says narcissists can't be helped. Susan was saying yes. I agree completely. I think of it in terms of alignment. Like if a person's in alignment with your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, your wants, your needs, kind of everything that makes you you. When your life is in alignment, that's when things are working. Like your life is working for you and you're kind of just moving forward, all systems go. If you're out of alignment in one way or another, things quit working as smoothly. And if we're really, so for code people that are more on that codependent side of the spectrum, and again, use the words as pointers. I know a lot of people don't identify as codependent. I didn't for a very long time. If it helps, focus on the behavior. Just don't even worry about needing to identify as a codependent or not. I think there's still a lot that can be kind of gleaned out of the behaviors that it points to. So if a person, I think of it in terms of like overgiving. If a person's overgiving, if you're continually overgiving of your time and your energy and your emotions and second chances and 20-second chances, and you're putting everybody else first and you're putting yourself last, and you have this mindset that, commitment or friendship or family is forever, no matter how bad they treat you. If you're thinking that you have to sink yourself in order to save other people, if you're at this place where you're looking towards other people to complete you, that you're looking for your happiness out there, especially in a relationship of, I need to be loved in order to feel love. I need somebody else to make me happy in order for me to be happy. I need to be in a relationship in order to feel whole. All of that's like major red flag city on our end. And so realizing, okay, there's some stuff here that I didn't realize that was a problem. I think that's the challenge with people that are more on that kind of overgiving side of the spectrum, is a lot of those behaviors really fly under the radar. And if anything, they're kind of heralded as really good qualities of people. These are the things that we tend to be rewarded for in society, right? Oh, you're so good. You're so go with the flow. You're such a team player. You're so easygoing. You're so quiet, all of these things. And so we don't, you're so forgiving, you're so compassionate, you're so understanding. And so we kind of go through life and, and I think a lot of us, myself included, then you think, okay, well, you kind of grow up like that. And then that's your personality. And then you kind of build this whole life around that. So you might have a whole career around that. It's very common for people that are social workers or teachers or nurses or people that are kind of in caregiving professions to be like, okay, hey, you know what? I'm really good at this. Like, I'm really good at taking care of other people, and then continually finding themselves running out of steam and burning out and not realizing why. And just, it's very, all of this stuff, it's like pulling a string on a sweater. And then you're like, oh my God, I did not realize that this was a problem. And it's like I said, especially if you've built this whole career around it, because then everybody most likely around you has that same mindset of, well, this is what we do. We're social workers or we're nurses or we're teachers. We give and we give and we give and we give. And we're here 18 hours a day. And then we take stuff home. And, we sometimes don't eat lunch, or we don't go to the bathroom, or, we come in, we just work ourselves to the bone because it's all about these other people. And so the more you start realizing, okay, this is out of alignment, and this is how I know it's out of alignment, because of tuning inward and getting in touch with how you're truly feeling, like physically and emotionally. Because again, so many of us are used to living our life at this kind of really unhealthy place where we're putting everybody else first, and we're used to chronic back pain and headaches and not getting sleep and eating like crap and feeling like crap and just running on fumes, and that's become our new normal. So the cool thing is, I think, especially with codependency, is or kind of these overgiving traits that a lot of us tend to have, is it doesn't take, like, you don't need to wait until like you're fully healed to start living your life again. Even having a few aha moments where you're like, oh, wow, bingo, bingo, that's it. Your life, it's sort of like changing the trajectory of your life. Like, you don't need to change it 100 degrees in order to have massive impact. You only need to change it a few degrees. And then as you go, down your life, in 6 weeks from now, 6 months from now, that trajectory is going to continue to grow and grow. And as you have these aha moments too, they're going to start stacking upon each other. So it's sort of like that saying, there is no such thing as small change. That's so true, because you have one aha moment of, oh my God, I did not realize like that this was some problematic thinking, that I really thought commitment was forever. On the surface, that sounds good, right? It sounds ideal. It sounds healthy, but it's only healthy if you're being treated right. If you're being abused or used or exploited, then it's not healthy. Then we're just being dragged through life by somebody else's behavior, and that we have no deal breakers, and that's a problem. So, but realizing a few of those things, or seeing kind of the ripple effect of like, oh wow, I thought my main issue was with my significant other, but now I see, what, it's also been with quite a few friends in my life. It's been with some people that I volunteer with. It's been with my parents. It's been, and you just start seeing the bigger picture of it all. And it's like, oh my God, I feel like I'm seeing life with clear eyes for probably the first time ever. It's just these aha moments just keep coming, and it can be really cool. So, but yes, I fully think that a person, can move forward and can start having massive change in their life, and can really start getting their life on course. But I think a big part of that, like I was saying, is getting in tune with your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, getting all of those things in alignment. A big part of it starts with getting in tune with how you feel. So if you're not aware, if you don't have that kind of mind-body awareness of when something's working or not working for you, it's very difficult to kind of navigate through life, because our thoughts and our feelings, it's this continual mind-body feedback loop. And if we're not aware, like I said, so many of us are like, oh, I'm used to just feeling exhausted and feeling worn down and having a headache and a backache. And, we don't know life any other way. I think a good starting place is getting in tune with that emotional guidance of how do you feel, and allowing the answers to surface, and then realizing your emotions are a guide. They really kind of, like your GPS system, it'll start chiming at you. Please proceed to the highlighted route. Please proceed to the highlighted route. And so if things are out of alignment, if our boundaries are being violated, if we're overgiving, even if we're violating them, okay, if we're overgiving, if we're saying yes when we really mean no, and we're people pleasing and we're doing all of these things, odds are we're going to start feeling like resentful. And then that leads to irritation, which leads to anger, which leads to, depression and anxiety and hostility. And then there's like physical things that start happening. We start getting upset, and then we start getting headaches, or we start wanting to sleep all the time, or we're not sleeping enough, or we're eating too much, or we're not eating enough. And it's just, everything starts getting out of alignment. And it's just, things start getting wonky in our life. But if you can catch that stuff early on, and then making those corrections to get things back into alignment, you said yes when you really meant no, then making that effort to oh, there's so much, like, getting back to that person and say, hey, you know what, I'm sorry. I know I said I agreed to do this, but the more I thought about it, I just can't. I can't. I'm worn out, and start practicing saying no, and start practicing like valuing your energy and your time and your emotions, instead of giving them away so freely and thinking that this is good. Like, I'm just so go with the flow, or I can't, or maybe thinking like, well, I don't have a good reason to say no, so I guess I'll just say yes. Like getting in tune with like what you really want to do, and realizing that you don't need to wait until you have a good like a quote unquote good reason to say no. If you don't want to do something, like that's a good enough reason right there. So it takes practice. And, I've talked about this before, but one of the biggest, I think, aha moments that I had where I was going wrong in my own life was with so many situations, with men, with friends, with family, with jobs, with like everything with other people, is I did not know how to set healthy boundaries. I did not know how to say no. And I let other people set the pace of things. I overgave, wasn't aware that that's what I was doing because I had been doing this for decades. And then things would, I would start, or maybe I would even start seeing red flags with them, especially if it was new people in my life. I'm like, man, that's kind of weird. Or is it me or is it them? Or am I making too big of a deal out of things, or what's going on? Things would start, these red flags, these GPS, my internal GPS was on fire. I mean, it's just like chiming at me, like, please proceed to the highlighted route. Please proceed to the highlighted route. And I keep moving forward off the path thinking, well, I don't have a good reason to not go on a third date with this person, or to call off being friends with them. But my intuition was on fire, going crazy, trying to say, hey, you know what? No. So the change that I made that was such a huge thing was in realizing, don't wait until you have concrete proof that a situation is in fact problematic. Like, you don't need to wait until things get that bad in order to leave. It's okay. So for me nowadays, I no longer do perpetual confusion, and I don't do mental anguish. And so because those tend to be things that are present a lot sooner than the concrete proof, right? If I can't have clarity and peace in my life, then I don't do it. Like, I just have learned it's not worth it. Don't put yourself all through that. Is it me? Is it them? Maybe I have issues. Maybe they have issues. Can this be work? Just if it's not nourishing for you, if it's not bringing peace into your life, then it's just not for you. I know that might seem overly simplistic, but it's like that has yet to fail me. So, okay, let me scroll down here. Yeah, and go with your gut. This is something else I talked about before. When I was going through all of this stuff with Jack, and I had a friend who bought me this little flip book, and it had little like motivational quotes and stuff on it. And one of the quotes was from Joseph Campbell, which said, follow your bliss. And I remember looking at that in my kitchen all the time. And I would just kind of circle around it. And I couldn't figure out, it bothered me at such a core level, because I'm like, that's what I did. And doing that is why I stayed in that relationship. And it's how I got into that relationship, because it felt so amazing. And it took me a while to realize that the intensity of all of this, the love bombing, it can make a person feel bliss. Like, this is ideal. This is perfect. This is like a fairy tale or something that only happens in the movies. But the big realization was it's more important. You need to follow your peace. Follow your peace. So if following your bliss comes at the expense of you not following your peace, then don't do it. Because there's other stuff that your brain is picking up on that you're not consciously aware of. So that was a big missing piece of the puzzle for me as well. Follow your peace. If something is nourishing for you, it's going to bring peace into your life. It's that feeling, when you're on track. It's just that feeling of like, you get jazzed, you get juiced, you get excited. You don't feel apprehensive, fearful, concerned, terrified. Those uncomfortable emotions are not like they're not, especially with other people, like those are not present. So, go slow and follow your peace. Jennifer asks, is there some sort of intuition exercise I can do? Because I really don't know how to trust what my instincts are and what the narcissist's voice in my head is. Yeah. So, hold on a second. I have a timer going, but I think we're going to go over, and that's okay. So it's start with getting in tune with your emotions in ways that you're not emotionally invested in the outcome. Because when we're emotionally invested in the outcome, it's difficult for any of us to see the situation clearly. If I really want to stay at my job, I'm going to gloss over all kinds of major red flags because I don't want to leave. If I'm really invested in that person as a friend or in that person as a partner, that's really difficult to start kind of navigating. That's jumping into the deep end to start with. So start small. So here's some homework. If you want to work on some exercises, is to start maybe in your kitchen. Go to your kitchen cupboards and open things up. And I want you to think of having this emotional scale of from like 0 to 10. So 0 being ice cold, 5 being lukewarm, 10 being, I love that. Yes, absolutely. Okay. And so start ranking things on this scale. And this isn't about judgment. This is not a hard science, right? Like the rank that you're going to give something is going to change over time. But just as a snapshot in time, start going through your kitchen cabinets. So for example, looking around here, I have this big red coffee mug. I love this thing. This is like, that's a 9 or a 10. I really like it. This lip gloss chapstick from my dentist. It's strawberry lemonade flavor. It's amazing. I love it. It's a 10. I love this stuff. These Pilot pens. I love writing with these. I have them on all kinds of different colors. These are a 10. I just enjoy writing with them so much. I got a new phone case. I love it. And it's magnetic and it sticks on things. I just love it. This is a 10. So I'm trying to think of some other things. See, I'm at the point now where I try to only have things in my life that are like a 9 or a 10. But as you go through things, okay, here's an example. Here's this mouse pad. It's so gross. It's falling apart and it's dirty and I spilled stuff on it. This is like I would say like a 6 or a 7. It's pretty ratty. It serves a purpose, but it's pretty ratty. It's time to get another one. So getting used to ranking things that you're not emotionally invested in on this scale, then it helps you to think about things in your environment that kind of getting used to feeling what feels like meh and what feels no way and what feels good. And then you can also maybe think about, if you're in the kitchen, you can start thinking about food in the same way. You can go to your pantry or go to your fridge and think about, okay, what do you really like? What are you kind of lukewarm about? What do you not like at all? And then go to your closet and do the same thing. And it's just so eye-opening when you start thinking about things in this way, because especially when you go to your closet, that's kind of like the next level, because there tends to be all of this emotional stuff in our closet. The person that we feel we should be, right? The old us, the person who we used to be 20 pounds ago, or the person that we hope to be if we lost 20 pounds or we gained 20 pounds, or whatever, clothes that we've bought because we're like, okay, this makes me feel a certain way, or what have you. And then ranking those different outfits or items of clothes on that scale. And then kind of once you get more in tune with that, you could go to like your local store, like Target or wherever, or your farmer's market or craft store, wherever, and start doing the same thing. And just, it's a way to get in tune with yourself. And then kind of once you have an idea, because I think so many of us have spent so long settling for crumbs that we had this feeling of like, well, I should just be grateful for what I get across the board. And the danger of that is when we're kind of grateful for whatever we get, as far as friends and significant others and things like that, that's when we start settling for things that we shouldn't settle for. And okay, so once you've kind of got these different items down, start making it a point to be like, okay, you know what? I'm going to really start spending time in that zone of like 9 and 10. And maybe at first it's maybe even in the zone from like 7 or 8 to 10, 7 to 10. That's that zone of like, this is working out. This is good. And then starting to think about different friendships maybe that you've had in your life, or different relationships that you have with other people, and kind of thinking, okay, where do those fall along this spectrum and why? And is there anything that you can do within reason, right? Not in like in a codependent, overgiving kind of way, but is there anything that you could do to make anything in your life to move it up to ideally a 7 or higher? So for example, if you really dread your morning commute, if you're like, man, it's an hour and a half in heavy traffic. Okay, well, what could you do to make that, to start living in that zone of 7 or higher? Maybe you could listen to some podcasts that you really like on your drive time. Maybe you could go get a travel cup for coffee and make yourself, your favorite type of cup of coffee on your way to work. Like, we don't have to just suffer through so many things, like we can make them enjoyable. Or same thing if you're doing dishes or cleaning your house, like how can you get this into a 7 or higher? So that's tuning into how you feel is the first step. It's the first step, because your intuition is always there. It's always on. Like, you didn't lose it. You're just not used to hearing it. It's sort of like if we've been driving through with that GPS turned down, it's still chiming. We just can't hear it. But once you learn to turn the volume up, your whole path, the whole journey changes, right? Because now you've got more of a course. Okay, let's see here. Let me scroll up. Pandar was saying, people I think are talking about kind of changing the energy in different places. And people are mentioning praying or saging an environment. And so I'm a big fan of both, but I think kind of the core of this, regards kind of religious beliefs aside, if you're whatever, if you're not religious, which is fine, think about it in terms of changing the energy. So it is amazing how much this can help. So let's say, for example, your ex moves out, you're in the same place. The energy it's heavy. It's heavy with conversations that went unsaid. It's heavy with conversations that you can't unhear, right? Or the air it's just stagnant. It's just stagnant, or it feels very negative or very dark. So lighting incense can help change. Just even light a scented candle, changing the smell in the air can help. Rearranging your furniture can really help. Getting some plants, getting rid of some furniture. Even if you can't afford to get rid of furniture, even getting a throw blanket and putting it over a couch. Even if you don't keep your furniture, if you're like, Dana, no, my place is so small. Like the furniture goes one way and one way. That's it. Like, there's no room. Even if you just change things around, or if you have an area rug, you turn it at an angle, doing something to just break things up. Even if you end up moving it back like a month later, doing little things like this really can help. And something else that can help is if you do have some friends or family, to have what I like to call a change the energy party. So inviting people over and say, you know what, hey, this might sound really hippie woo woo, but like, my place, the energy feels off. Like, it doesn't feel good in here. And I really want to change the energy. So please come over, help me do this. get some wine, or if you don't drink, that's fine too. You can bring ginger ale, have friends come over, you can ask them maybe to bring something like a token of good energy, whatever that might be. A plant, whatever. Bring some new stuff into the house. Then you guys go through each room, and then the whole goal is to change the energy in that room. So maybe you put on some different music and you dance around and you're jumping on the couch or you're jumping on your bed, or you have them help you buy different color pillowcases and you're putting new pillowcases on your bed, or you decide you're going to paint one of the walls. Or do you see what I'm saying? Like you're just doing things different and you're having people with you. So whereas before, maybe your bed, right? Like that can be a very emotional kind of hot spot for people, is their bed. And they're like, okay, I can't afford to get a new bed. But instead of having all of these memories of like you and your ex, be like, okay, now I'm rewriting this with new memories. So now these are going to be the memories of me and my friend drinking wine, watching a video on my laptop while we eat Chinese food in my bed. And you start making some good memories in places that are heavy with old memories. It goes a long way. So Diane says, yeah, I threw my sheets away and I got new ones. XOK says, I think I'm going to purge my apartment today. Yep. Beverly says, pillows and new drapes, candles and vases, a new picture. Yep. That's huge. So one of the things, and Beverly says, yep, thrift store redo. Yep. And one of the things too that I did was, I had this moment when I got out of the shower. This was years ago after everything with Jack. I got out of the shower and it was just this moment of, I kept thinking like, why doesn't anybody love me? Like, what's so wrong with me? Why am I so unlovable? And it was this moment of, well, if nobody else is going to love me, I guess I'm just going to have to love me. And that just struck me as so profound because I didn't realize until that moment that I hadn't been loving me. And I didn't even know what that meant, that I had been looking out to other people to love me. And so it was just so kind of at that moment, I thought, you know what, damn it. Like there's a lot about me that's really lovable. And so I'm just going to start loving me. And that was one of those thoughts that I was talking about earlier. Like you just change the trajectory, just a few notches and your life's in a very different place. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to start loving me. And I thought, okay, I'm going to go, I think I went to Walmart or someplace and got some towels, and I got some red towels. And that was my color to signify to myself, I love me. Regardless of whatever else is going on, regardless of what anybody else thinks, like I love me, I matter. And so I'd come home and take a shower or a bath, and I would wrap myself up in that red towel. And it was just like giving myself a hug. It was a grounding thing for me to just be like, Dana, you matter. And so red became my color. So that's one of the reasons it's just that reminder of, hey, you know what? You matter. And so I have a lot of red things in my house. I began telling my friends about this. Everybody, it was fun because then it caught on. People were like, oh my God, I love that idea. And so I had a friend that was going through an awful divorce. And so her color became orange. And so then we bought orange sheets for her and orange pillowcases. And it was just that reminder of that you matter. And so if you have a color, that's another way to designate your space. If you have a color and you're like, okay, you know what? I matter. And I'm going to let this color kind of be that anchor, that reminder. So whatever that color might be, lime green or purple or whatever it is, if you're more creative than me, mine was just red, finding that color. And then if you have a party, a change the energy party, tell people what you're doing, and say, this is what I'm looking for. If you could bring some of this specific color into the house, it would just be such a great way to support me right now. Thank you so much. And to keep that in mind when you're redecorating. It's fun. It's fun. Even though, this was so long ago for me, and I don't consciously think about it now so much, but when I do remember it, it makes my heart smile, So just something to think about. So I think with all that said, because we're way over on time, thank you guys so much for joining me. And I'm going to be doing the normal live stream tomorrow night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on YouTube. And then Angie and I will be doing our normal live stream, our weekly live stream on Thursday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I will hopefully see you guys tomorrow night. So again, thank you so much for joining me. I hope this helped, and I'll see you soon. So lots of love to you. You are not alone. You are not crazy, and you really can move forward and heal from this. So take care. Have a great rest of your day.